Chronicles TV on air. We are now live in 3, 2, 1.
The anomaly of the note. I do remember now. 'Twas a week ago, peradventure, that note was delivered unto me. On the day writ therein, I did tarry a long hour at the slug and saw, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening, I shared the company of the Japanese fellow. I did see the note had vanished. I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? Why do you have a key around your neck? That's my question. I can point out the villain here, and as for that torn off piece of envelope, I don't know anything about it. Why do you have a key around your neck? What's the key for? You now claim to have received this letter, do you, Mr. Shakespeare? Faith, 'tis so, my lord, and I would swear to have set it up upon the table in my humble lodgings. Yet 'tis clear to me now that since I returned from the tavern tonight, I have not laid eyes upon it. Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was a lie? Is that what you think? How unfair of you to think I'm the one lying. I beg your pardon? I'm just a fledgling artist. That don't mean nothing, Chief! The note was delivered to me at my address besides. We all know who the liar around here is. Shut up! If that's true, Miss Green, how do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was, without question, found in Shakespeare's room. I don't see why I should explain. We're in court! I'm a fledgling... Oh my god, this is... Oh my god. The fledgling will do his best. Evidently, my learned French cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth. Well, counsel? I'm ready, my lord. Very well, then. The defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witnesses. Miss Green clearly did break into Mr. Shakespeare's room. There can be no question of that. And that's how she acquired the note. Yeah, the two facts are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all this. And it's not a pretty one. We still don't even know who Seldom is. I do remember now. 'Twas a week ago, pre-adventure, the note was delivered unto me. And can you shed any light on the contents of the note at all? Nay, sire. 'Tis as strange to me as the foreign tongue. Even with a knowledge of literature as great as mine own, verily, 'tis impenetrable. But Mr. Duncan Rose has lodging the same household as you. In effect, he was your neighbor, so surely you knew him, didn't you? Alack, if the choice is betwixt I knew him and knew him not, then 'tis worth forbidding that I force to declare we were by some small measure acquainted. Despite your claims, though, you followed the note's instructions and went to the Slug and Salad. Presumably, there was nothing to do with your knowledge of literature. Marry not will have the better of me, sire, save for the lure of curiosity. So 'tis true, I was compelled by my own eager heart to betake myself to the tavern. Yet in the end, my curiosity was not satiated. On the day writ with therein, I did tarry a long hour at the slug salad, yet nobody came. We already know that what happened. Thereafter, in the evening, I shared the company of the Japanese fellow. I did see the note had vanished. Hold it! When exactly did you notice it had gone missing? Such idle thoughts never occupy my mind. I am busy with great ideas. In other words, you didn't notice. Several days passed between your outing to the tavern and Mr. Notsby's visit to your room. Yes, it would appear that the note disappeared sometime in the interval. Such idle thoughts never occupy my blah 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 blah. I am busy with greater ideas. And yet, during that time, Miss Green was comatose at the hospital, was she not? Clearly, then, she could not have been stealing things from Mr. Shakespeare's room. Yes, of course. It's all some sort of misunderstanding, isn't it, Mr. Prosecutor, sir? You have so far failed to give a satisfactory explanation as to how you became by the note. I am not here to advocate for your defense, madam. I won't tolerate inconsistencies in your story. You would do well to remember that.
Dearie me.
No one's on your side, Chief. What Lord Von Sykes getting at? I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I?
Hold it!
It seems that this note was actually delivered to Mr. Shansbury about 1 week ago. But for some reason, it ended up in your possession. I can't think of any way that could have happened except for your breaking into Mr. Shansbury's lodgings. But for what reason would a witness have done that? I won't deny that Miss Green's possession of the note would appear to defy logic. However, unless her involvement in this case can be proven in some other way, any further pursuit of this note is meaningless.
Miss Green could only have come to be possession of the note by stealing it from Mr. Shansbyre's room. And yet, there's no obvious reason why she would have done such a thing.
What if there was some other reason she broke into his lodging, though?
Yes, we should pursue the idea.
We're close now. I can feel it. We're so close to breakthrough. I can point out the villain here.
Hold it!
So you don't want to tell the court the truth about the letter, is that it?
I'm a fledgling.
Oh my god, shut up with the fledgling artist excuse.
Introverted? Fie, the fledglings don't readily cast aspersion about my nature. Yet I am an angel, a seraph. Birds do harmonize with my song. The word wind doth frolic on my wing.
I tolerate this guy's literacy versus her singing the repeated fledgling artist crap.
Pure of heart, I don't think so. Even if...
Oh my god. Tragedy, thou shalt not know the true heart of an artist until thine instruction hereafter by death. Oh, the days, oh, the years, alas, to align in thee, thou must wait so long in vain.
Mr. Naruto, interject with some clever remarks. This is your chance to shine.
I'm no Shakespearean actor, Mr. Sato. No, as far as I can tell, the only thing that's going to resolve this argument is evidence.
Yes.
Back to this. It's clear that Miss Green did in fact bring it to the Chancery room, isn't it? And it's where she found the letter. Yes, that's two more or less foregone conclusions that led me to one terrifying conclusion.
Terrifying?
Yes, I'm afraid to say that the outcome of this cross-examination may well change how we look at this case completely. Okay. I don't know what you're doing. You think I snuck into this room? Why would I? I don't know. Cause I don't know. We were given some new piece of evidence that we can look into, but there's nothing relating as to who the person was. Where's the photograph? Oh, they threw it away, didn't they? Well, we got the other one, so.
Hold it!
So even after waiting for an hour, nobody appeared.
Well, yes, sire, 'tis as thou sayest.
Really? You paused for a moment before you answered.
In truth, when thou asked whether nobody appeared, I did suddenly recall.
Really? Do you mean to tell the court that somebody did appear after all?
I was not alone that night at the Slug and Cellar, my lord. No, 'tis returning to me now. I did treat my lips to the almost clear water, and mine innards to the premium crust of bread. And all around me danced a great many companions.
What do you mean?
Flies, sire, flies!
Good lord!
In the name of Beelzebub, what were they? Fairies, perchance, from a midsummer's night's dream, come to taunt me?
I think they were just flies.
I can't help thinking that the flies ought to choose something more wholesome to buzz around. Is that so? What is that wrong of me?
Hold it!
Oh wait, we already went through this. There you go. Okay, I got like one big old guess, but I don't know if it's gonna be related to anything. But we're just gonna make a big old guess as to why she decided to break into the room. Because that's the only thing we have to press on. That's the only thing I can think of. Is that sad file that we got. So let's do it. We got nothing to lose. We got 4 of them.
Objection!
As I thought. 'Cause I have no idea where we're going with that. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? Why would you? Okay, next guess.
Objection!
Nope. Okay, why would she is the question. I can point at the villain here and his other 4 torn out piece of it. I don't know anything about it. She says that, but what's the real reason? Is there anything else we can look into? The poison? Oh, maybe the poison?
Objection!
Okay. That's not what I was thinking, but I remember we had to think, where did the poison come from? Yesterday at the hospital, we saw this battle. As though the contents split during the course of your meeting, a small quantity remain. According to the defense's independent analysis, Mr. Sholm's chemistry set, oh my god, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified as poison. What? The very same poison that afflicted Mr. Shakespeare? Huh? Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings for one reason and one reason alone. To cover the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Shakespeare's room with poison. And he stares her down. Can this be? You broke into my room too? It may seem incredible to the court, but from the remaining clues, there is only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shakespeare's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green. I don't want to hear that fledgling artist crap ever again. Order! Counsel, are you seriously suggesting this woman put poison on the end of the gas pipe with the intent to kill? Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts. What if Miss Green did indeed set this odorous trap 6 days ago, and the victim had put his mouth on the pipe that very evening as expected? The attempted murder would have happened 6 days ago, surely. Well, that's a very good point. Perhaps not, my lord. I beg your pardon? There was a significant police presence in the area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of the ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal would likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at the time. Lord Von Zykes? And of course, the following morning there was more activity at Shakespeare's address. More activity? Yes. You mean this fellow lodger, Mr. Nosby, being arrested on suspicion of murder? That's right. And as the defense has already proposed, Mr. Shakespeare was meddling with the gas in the pipe for a very sinister reason himself. to cause the gas stove in Mr. Natsumi's room to go out, thereby poisoning the occupant. But once Mr. Natsumi had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In the circumstance, Mr. Shamspeare had no reason to blow air into the gas pipe, his intended victim being in prison cell. With the need to tamper with the gas removed, the poison in the pipe lay dormant. And then 3 days ago, now, the situation changed again. Right! Mr. Natsumi's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end. A trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back, but was duly acquitted. The result in Mr. Natsumi returned to his lodging for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out, and Mr. Shamspeare was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was presented on the mouth on the gas pipe had been put there in the victim's room some 4 days earlier. With that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan. What plan? The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the slug and cell at 5 o'clock, and the recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for the instructions are now clear, to ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the stated time. To make sure I wasn't home? Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed. You mean to say that letter was written by Miss Green? Yes. And in order to cover her tracks, she took it away when she left. Just after she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas of the pipe in your room. I don't know why I messed up. Order! What do you have to say for yourself, witness? Just who are you? Why did you try to kill me? Miss Green's motive should be obvious. Revenge? It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So that's what's behind all of this? You will share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life?
Take that!
Duncan Ross? That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsumi took up the residence and lodgings at Mr. Garridib's. Somebody else was renting the room. Mr. Duncan Ross. I knew I heard that name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago, when the man died in a strange circumstance at the haunted lodgings. That does ring a vague... Oh, of course, yes. I remember now. The young man they claim was strangled by the convict's curse or so much. Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Shamspeare blowing into the gas pipe and causing gas leak to the room. It was murder, plain and simple. So we got one victim and another. Ha ha ha, well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, curious deaths, that's all people care about. You fledgling artist! If it's an interesting story they want to know, it doesn't cross their mind that real people are involved. And once they're bored, just 1 month later, once the story lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten him. You mean you? Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now Miss Green really is Mr. Shamspeare. But she's known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy. The murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry. Marry? Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shamspeare, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe? This is all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties, counsel? Each on different counts of murder? Yes, my lord, that's correct.
Objection!
Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling Lord friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. What? Why would Mr. Shakespeare have wanted to kill these lodgers as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusation against the man.
Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaver, my liege. I have been slighted. 'Tis lies, all lies. I deny every utterance. And you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruhodo, sir. But I don't intend to admit to anything either.
Miss Green.
I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
But you broke into this man's room. If you didn't do it to smear on poison on the pie, what was your reason?
I thought I'd have a look around, that's all.
Sorry?
You're right, I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence, that is, was him who took Duncan's life. Oh vileness, oh villainy, oh tyranny, oh rotundity of woman! But in any case, whenever I leave my room, I do turn the key in the lock.
What explains the key right there in the necklace?
That whole place is falling apart. The locks on the door are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door with some terps and a piece of wire. Oh awfulness, oh artfulness, oh tyranny, oh profanity of woman!
We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion. But for now, tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed.
Well, I spotted the note that I sent him lying on the floor. When I picked it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it I discovered a secret hiding place.
Huh? Yes, we also discovered that hiding place.
Inside we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box. Ah, yes. Well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty.
What? There was something in it?
Yes. This rather nice key.
What are you doing with that? What the?
Every ounce of color has drained from his face.
Give it here! Give it to me now! It's mine! I inherited! What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it.
No,
What's all this about?
He inherited that key. It was obviously important to you since you'd gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what's it for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So what if it means you can't open something now? I don't care.
Give it back to me this minute! Give it to me! Calm yourself, witness! So Mr. Shakespeare has tried, and in one case succeeded to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shakespeare at first. But considering everything we know now, I think there's actual something that could explain. What? I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal, everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure that I caught a glimpse of the link that runs through all these events. In that case, counsel, I must demand that you present evidence to the court in support of your claim. What is it that you say can explain the motivation of Shakespeare's alleged crimes? Why did I went from right when I clicked on that? That's an official police report, is it not? The Selden file? How did you get a hold of that? Selden? The now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant Mr. Natsume have only one thing linking them. The fact they had a lodging in the same room. Well, yes, we know this, generally. A room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until, that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. I see. And it so happens that the convict Selden left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. The sum £1,000 worth of loot that he stole, which as yet remains to be found. Ah, yes, of course, it's coming back to me now. It's written in the file here. 1,000 pounds lost en route to hell. That was how the papers summed it up. And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in the final moments. It's not hard to imagine Sullivan entrusting the inmate with the most closely guarded secret, the location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key. Unlock whatever container the valuables were in.
You mean this key is...
Mr. Shamsbury, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not?
What are you talking about? This is a false charge, I tell you, a false charge!
The name of the inmate who was with Sullivan at his death is a note in the file, but a simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is. But even if it's true, why would the man be intent on killing on every subsequent occupant of the convict's lodgings? There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in the very room that Sullivan hid his loot. So, it all comes out. Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Shamsbury's subsequent actions that started to make perfect sense. When he was left out of prison following Sullivan's death, he made immediately for Garrett's lodgings in the hope of renting Sullivan's old room. However, the retired army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice, because Sullivan's old room had already been let to somebody else, Mr. Duncan Russ, which is why Mr. Shamsbury subsequently devised his gas-based plot to kill the occupant of the room. Excuse me. And when he was successful, he presumably intended to acquire the switching into a newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it. Mr. Soseki Natsume, the friend of this case no less. So you decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shamsbury? This time to oust Mr. Natsume. All for one simple and avaricious reason. To get your hands on the 1,000 pounds of loot behind the dead convict. And there it is. Then one final act. 3, 2, no, okay. Looks up. One final act.
Listen, I want you to have me loot.
Oh, it's the guy. Listen, I want you to have the loot. Anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging in, where they got me. Here, this is the key to it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shamsbury. I thought it was him, but never mind.
'Tis mine.
What did he just say?
It's mine. That loot is mine.
Yo! Mr. Shamsbury?
It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. Forsooth, I'm the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? If I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me, for the time being anyway. Verily, you can't arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close. I just need a few more hours. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. Do you really think I just give up?
There's no question in my mind now. This man's guilty through and through.
But he seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done.
There is a way.
Pardon?
There's one way I could finish him.
No!
He's already committed the most heinous crimes to get his hands on the loot, which means all we need to do is find it first. A fine plan. Were it not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross, if it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule.
If only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly.
This is the final piece in this complex puzzle, but I think we might have it in our possession already. We do? Or rather, I think we may well have something that can help us where the loot is hidden. We do? My lord. Yes, counsel? The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe we are already in possession of something that could give us a clue to as where its whereabouts. It's our last chance, so it has to be worth a gamble. Besides, we've used the same technique once already, and it definitely paid off then. We did? Very well then, counsel. Let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we can use in order to locate the hiding place of the diseased convict's Oh, wait. No, wait, we don't. I don't know. What do we use? In order to locate? The handprints? What do we use? The first thing that comes to my mind is the handprints, no?
Take that!
It is? If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shamster's handprints on the wall of his lodgings. That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene.
Based on the wonderful discovery of a field of forensic science by the great detective Mr. Sholmes.
A great detective? Is that some kind of joke?
Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such ridiculous title?
I should think the great bard ought to be recognized such a title when he hears one, Mr. Shamspear. Perhaps we should compete for the honor of most ridiculous title.
The Sherlock Sholmes himself!
What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy backstreets of the capital, are they not? Ah, Mr. Reaper, it's been too long, and I see your complexion has worsened since last we met.
Mr. Sholmes?
He does know Lord Van Zyxen well enough to say something like that in any case. Mr. Sholmes, though you may be heralded as the great detective by the population at large, that does not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit.
If I may, my lord, Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover vital clues in the case already.
Clues, you say? I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. It's the method by which we were able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. You need only a small sample of something the individual has previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding, elementary. So now, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes?
What am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time? Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what is now Sasaki's room. We need a sample to help locate Sutton's loot that's hidden in the room. What form will the sample take?
What? I don't know.
We need a sample to help locate Sutton. Oh, yeah, hold up. What did he say? What am I... You need something that's individual has the individual has previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, I use a teacup you have been holding. What do we have as evidence? Person? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. We will need something of Selden in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot. And something the convict own happens to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, your powers of reasoning appears to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we obtain possession of the late convict Selden to create the indicator solution? She has the key, right?
Take that!
Miss Green. Me? What do you want with me?
The key around your neck, if you please.
Sorry?
That key belongs to Selvin. There will be remnants of secretions of the man's skin on its surface that we can use. Very true. That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Shum's skin print seeker. And find out exactly what Selvin touched in the room that he used to rent. Mr. Shamspeare, as one grade to another, I assure you, if the Lake Comics Hall is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it in no matter than 30 minutes. So, Mr. Shamspeare, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Selden's stolen wealth.
In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Shums have the key.
No, give the key to me. The detective shan't have it. It's over, Mr. Shamspeare. No. You're out of options now. There is only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt. Whoa. Oh, shameful spear. Despair. Be thy name. I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room. That's all. So you have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods? Yet after you killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room. I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused. Why? I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing. Mr. Garrett really has a lot to put up with. And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then, this Japanese man swooped in as just the right moment to sign a new lease.
Poor Mr. Natsume. What unfortunate timing.
Then, 5 days ago, after the incident of Briar Road when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I finally had my chance, but it wasn't to be. No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day.
And if I remember rightly, Mr. Shum spent the whole day in there reading books.
I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot. Which is why on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, you once again tried your trick of blowing air into the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap.
William Shamspeare? How does it go? To be or not to be? That is the question.
From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1.
Well, let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be, that is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done.
Holmes? Sherlock Holmes? Where are you?
At first, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died.
The gas supply in my new lodgings are a complete disaster, you know, Olive. The gas supply? Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason. That's no joke. They say it's the convict's curse. Oh, Duncan, please, don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is. Alright then, if it's that important to you, I'll start looking for a new place. There are spare rooms in my house. Why don't you leave in that horrible room tonight? No, I better not. We said we waited until we graduate before we told our parents, remember?
But that was the last time we ever spoke. That very night, he fell victim to the gas. If only I'd known it was going to happen, I have insisted he left the horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school, but something kept drawing me back to the house on Briar Road. I saw a stooped Eastern-looking man with a mustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up the road to Grubby for some food, so I followed him. Set myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup and started to pick a quarrel with a publican.
That place a curse, I tell you, curse! The ghost of that convict who used to live there, trying to suffocate me. I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because the stove has gone out. The room is full of gas, and I can hardly breathe. But the pipes have been checked, no problem there. It's like I'm the problem. That's what they're thinking.
But how could that be? Duncan was gone, and now this man had almost suffered the same fate. Could it really be a curse? Then I remembered a rumor I heard about how the gas companies go around investigating the gas installations.
A rumor? Oh, you mean...
Yes, everybody heard the stories, it seems, about how they go around checking the pipes.
How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing into that pipework.
That's when it started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind that just wouldn't go away. Was it really an accident, though? Once I had the idea, it would leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End.
A black market?
I never been. I just heard people talk about them. And you really can buy anything you can think of there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out one way or another. Was Duncan's death an accident, or was it murder?
And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipes you suspect the man was tampering with, and wait. If Mr. Shakespeare was innocent, nothing would come up what you done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly. 20 minutes later?
I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shakespeare. And then I wrote him this little note. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Cellar on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. If he had done it, I knew he would worry enough, so he'd be sure to go. So I waited to see if it worked.
And of course, Mr. Shakespeare followed the instructions to the letter.
I worked out where the gas pipes was straight away, so I smeared a good amount of poison that I bought all around the mouth of the pipe, all the time praying that the devil's work wouldn't be done, and that it was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done, and the culprit would get is just desserts.
Is he back yet? "3 days ago, when you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward." "Yes, my lord." "I certainly never imagined the depths of depravity that should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. It has been a long road, my Nipponese friend." "Oh, yes." "And one I certainly didn't envision walking with you. Nevertheless, together we have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green?"
"Yes, my lord?"
"You will henceforth be stripped of your freedom, as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shakespeare.
"Yes, I know."
"And you, Mr. Shakespeare, you will be tried for the murder of Duncan Ross in cold blood, and the subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Soseki Natsume here present."
Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes?" Yesterday, at the hospital, when you and your friends stopped me from
ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle?
I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my mind. To be or not to be, I suppose. That's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems.
Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Mr. Green. Miss Green? Did I say Mr.? And I like to believe that it's a blessing for Mr. Shamster didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least.
Because of you, I chose life, not death. And now you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough. Oh, Miss Green.
Mr. Soseki Natsume.
Yes, my lord.
The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in the matter. Accordingly, I will call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present verdict of not guilty.
We are in full agreement, my lord.
Court is adjourned. And yet, we have yet to find out as to why this was important.
Oh, yes, yes. At last. Divine justice duly done.
Divine justice? My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you would shave the mustache.
No, this has nothing to do with my mustache.
Some say the luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Sholmes.
Welcome, sir, Mr. Naru Esquire. Once again, you saved me from doom.
I'm very happy to be able to help, Mr. Natsume. Congratulations on your acquittal. Your second in almost as many days.
I was first acquainted with and gained affection for English literature with us in our great homeland empire. And then, by a twist of fate, I was brought to the land that bore the fruit of literature. Only, the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Try as I might, I never found my feet here. In the end, I confined myself to my room and lived life through friendly old books.
You've had such a difficult time, haven't you?
About a week ago now, I dragged you out of the dark and dingy room of yours, did I not?
You did, and I've seen more life this week than in all my years to date. And for the first time, I feel to begun to see the true face of the English that's so far been hiding from me behind the wall of fog.
My dear fellow, there's nothing special about the true face of English, as you put. Wheresoever one goes the world, are humans, there are few genuine differences.
Yes, I think you're right. I finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. I've worked out why I was attracted to English literature in the first place, and made me see that whatever our nationality, we humans all have the same hopes and fears. We're all just doing our best to live.
Well said. I've come to feel the same way.
I've made a decision too. I'm going to cut short my study tour here, and return to Japan.
Did we not just make that decision back in the previous game?
It's when we become friends here in England. What a terrible shame.
Oh, I know, that does tug a hard at my heartstrings. It really does. But I've decided to take everything I've learned here in Britain and write something out of my own. Novel of sorts, I suppose.
Oh my, so you'll be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume? How wonderful.
Oh, well, no, I mean, I would have resumed to call it literature.
Why not, when this is precisely the definition, Mr. Mustache?
I suppose you were right, yes. It will, in a way, be literature. But as of now, all I know is that I like to try my hand at writing. I have no delusions of grandeur.
I, for one, would love to read your work.
Well, All things considered, it may be for the best.
Oh, all things considered, it may be for the best. After all, you have once again emerged victorious from a battle with the Reaper. That's very true. And there is no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is the prosecutor. The desire to return post-haste as the perceived safety of your homeland is one I quite understand. My goodness, yes, faced with such a terrifying prospect. Nobody would consider that cowardly, I'm quite sure.
But that's not why I'm leaving. I mean it.
Objection. And that was the case that we found ourselves embroiled in 6 months ago now. The Sexton did indeed return to Japan and submit a report about the cases to the government. It was on a reading that report that Professor Mikotoba was promised to visit the scholar, and barely any time later Susato was given the news that she must return to Japan as well, on the back of a telegram stating falsely that her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial, on the following day. The day that we uncovered the loot hidden by the now deceased convict in his former lodgings. Get to the point, man! Oh, well done, Mr. Sholmes. Oh, simply marvelous of you. To recover the secret hiding place in just 1 day. Wasn't it supposed to take 30 minutes? As I believe I told you, my dear fellow, skin prints are extremely useful in this situation. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson? Gregsy's been happily munching in agreement this whole time, you know, Hurley. Happily. I think perhaps humorously might be closer to the truth. So, it transfers the man fashioned a hiding place in the ceiling. And what's in it? What exactly is the loot? Let us look then, if you're ready. Let's examine the late burglar's haul. Cutscene time? What is that? A dog collar? It looks to be some sort of neckband. Of color? A color? It's huge though. And look at the gemstones in it. I could see why it's claimed to be worth 1,000 pounds. Perhaps I could have it as a belt. Oh, have you noticed on the inside there? Why is there blood? There are dark stains. You don't think they could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it. On second thought, perhaps I won't have it as a belt. Then of course, there's this emblem here. A large letter B and a small crown. I don't even know what that means. What does it signify, do you think? Oh, I hadn't noticed that. I feel as though I've seen that emblem somewhere before, you know. Where could it have been? That's enough of that, I think. What? What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes? All the color has drained from his face. Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this, ought you? It could be valuable evidence, after all. It must be kept safely under lock and key.
Ah, yes. Get your grubby hands off that, you lot. Hand it over now.
I'd never seen a collar that large before, and all those jewels certainly look to be extremely valuable, but that's not what stood out the most to me, at least not once I noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar, those stains, could they really have been blood? Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now. And you look very pleased, Iris. I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use as the basis of the month's story in the magazine. But this case will be perfect. It's been so fascinating. You're talking about the latest installment of the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, I presume? The Mystery of the Knife in the Mist, and the Mustached Man and the Convict's Curse, perhaps. I can make it a two-part story. Oh, I can't wait.
A word, please, Iris.
Yes, what is it, Hurley?
I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question.
What? Why not? It's a great case.
Then I shall have to insist that you limit yourself to the first of your two titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear?
Yes.
And so it was that the second of Souseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity. Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again, with an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.
Isn't the Great Exhibition supposed to be that crystal tower thing? Like, comment, subscribe, Chronicles TV, and I'm signing out.